Hello, everyone. Welcome to another series of Person in News. And today on Basavanna Jayanti, we're going to talk about the great sage Basavanna. I would like to start talking about him with a quote. This is Ramanuja who translated his songs. There were a lot of songs. Right? If you from Karnataka, right, you would have actually read them in school, etc. So it says, "The rich will make temples for Shiva. What shall I, a poor man, do?" So, the poem basically says, my legs are pillars, the body the shrine, the head a cupola of gold. Listen, O Lord, Kundala Sangama. Right, so there's a place where Malprabha and Krishna River meet in Karnataka, and that's the hometown and birthplace of Basavanna. Right, things standing tall shall fall, but the moving ever shall stay. So Basavana, in some ways is saying the body is imbibed. My body itself is a temple, and you better stay in it. Okay, so it's very interesting, I would say. So let's try to talk about him in a lot more different ways. So let's look at it. So Basavana obviously was a 12th century, so it's very different, right? Basavana was a 12th century statesman. He was a philosopher. He was a poet, right? And obviously, he was a Lingayat saint in the Shiva-focused Bhakti movement in down south. He was a social reformer during the Kalyani Chalukya Kalchuri dynasty. He was a chief minister, right? He was active in the rule of both the dynasties. Obviously, his peak of influence was during the rule of King Bijalala II in Karnataka, right? And he basically, spread social awareness through his poetry now, and the poetries are known as Vachanas. Further, he something. So, what was his social influence? So, he first thing was he rejected gender or social discrimination. He rejected superstitions and rituals, and he introduced the Ishtlinga necklace with the image of the Shivlinga to every person. This could be given, and regardless of his birth, right? And obviously, this was a reminder of one's bhakti to Shiva, but also in some ways giving equality. Oh, right. So if you wear the Ishtlinga, that is, right, this is the Ishtlinga, beautiful, right? So the Ishtlinga, if you wear, basically you are part of God, or you are God. So God embodies you in some ways. Okay, so he was a chief minister, as I talked about it. He introduced public institutions like the Anubhava Mantapa. So this is a hall of spiritual experience. I think something similar was done, inspired by this by Akbar as well. It welcomed men and women from all socio-economic backgrounds to discuss spiritual and mundane questions in life in open. So there was an open discussion here, and a lot of great spiritual saints used to visit this place. Right, people used to sit and listen as well. Then traditional legends, obviously, they say that he's a founder of the Lingayats, but some people say no, he isn't. We'll talk about that in a bit. Modern scholarship rely on historical evidence, such as the Kalachuri inscription state that the Basava was the poet philosopher who revived, refined, and energized an already existing tradition. So that was the basic idea, that he energized it. And this is the statue of Basavana, and this is in the Parliament. Right. So then there is Basavara Rajadevara Ragale. So, this is what is available, right? And the Kannada poet Harihara has written the account of his life. And it's considered to be important because, the author was a contemporary, so it was actually, pretty close to what actually happened. There's a full account of Basava's ideas, his life, right? Right. And in a 13th century Telugu text also, the Basava Purana by Pal Kuriki Somanatha. And now this is important. This can come in KAS as well. So this is important. This can come in KAS. This can come in UPS. So Karnataka Civil Services, right? Would be very important. Basavana literary works also included the Vachana Sahitya in Kannada language, right? He also is known as the Bhakti Bhandari, right? So if you think about it, he actually used Kannada language to send his message. So that is one of the big achievements, I would say, big, interesting things about him. What about his early life? So he was born in 1105 AD, the CE that is, in the town of Basavana Bagewadi in the northern part of Karnataka, right, to Madrasa and Maddam Lambike, a Kannada Brahmin family devoted to the Shiva deity, right? And he was named Basava, right? And he was basically seen to be a reincarnation of the Nandi bull. right, in the local Shaivism tradition. Basavanna married very quickly. He married Gangambike, a cousin from his mother's side. Her father was a provincial prime minister of Bijarala, the Kalchuri king. He first started as an accountant, and when his maternal uncle died, the king invited him to be the chief minister. As the chief minister, basically, he used the state treasury to initiate social reforms and religious movements focused on reviving Shaivism and recognizing and empowering Aztecs who were also called Jagamas. Now, as we're talking about the Anubhava Mantapa, right? So at that time, this was quite revolutionary. Think about a place infested with casteism, etc. And there's a public assembly where women are supposed to attend meetings. If they don't, the meeting doesn't happen. Okay, so that is the thing. So it's not just spiritual, economic, and social issues were also discussed here. As we talked about, he composed poetry in the local language and spread his message to the masses. Now, in the last budget, right, Nirmala Sitharaman really quoted him very, and he said the prime minister is very inspired by him. So the traditions of work is worship, Kaya Kave Kali Kailasha, and the Soha, that is giving back to the society, became popular because of his influence. So what is the Anubhava Mantapa? Let's try to go into that. Anubhava Mantapa was obviously established by him in the 12th century, right? And obviously located in Basavakalan, Bidar district of Karnataka. It's an experience pavilion, right? An academy of mystics, saints, philosophers of the Lingayat faced in the 12th century. It was a fountainhead of all philosophical thoughts pertaining to the Lingayats. It was presided by the mystic Alama Prabhu and numerous Sharanas from all over Karnataka, and others were also participants, right? The institution was a fountainhead of Vachana literature, which was used as a vector to propagate the Veershaivism religious and philosophical thought. And other giants of this are Akka Mahadeva, Channa Basavanna, and Basavanna himself, right? And they all themselves used to come and obviously, discuss social, economic, and spiritual connotations, things in life. And Anubhava Mantapa was also called as the Mahamane, right? Now, the question is, what was Basavanna's philosophy? Right? A lot of US might not know about him. So, Basavanna grew up in a family with Shaivism, right? So, he basically developed and inspired a devotional movement called the Veershaivism, or the ardent heroic worshippers of Shiva. And initially, it has its roots in the Tamil Bhakti movement, also the Shaiva Nayanar's traditions from the 7th to 11th century. But Basavanna championed devotional worship and rejected temple worship and rituals read by Brahmins, and replaced it by direct worship of the Shiva through practice such as individually worn icons and symbols like a small linga. And this approach of Shiva's presence to everyone and at all times without gender, caste, discrimination, right? That was his biggest achievement, I would say. And Basavanna's poem obviously speak of strong sense of gender equality, community bonding, and willing to wage wars for the right cause, right? And yet be a fellow devotee's bride at the time of his death. So, the Soha is still there at the same time. A recurring contrast in his poems and the ideas is of Starvraha and Jangama. So what is static, what is standing, right? And what is moving and seeking. So basically he says that, change and what is moving is seeking is life, and what is static is death. Temples, ancient books obviously represent the, former, that, it's standing. Temple is just standing, it's not living. So obviously it is below something that is living, right? This poem is the embodiment of what Basavanna thinks. So Basavanna says, my legs are pillars, but the body the shrine, the head a cupola of gold. So listen, O Kundala Sangama, things standing shall fall, but the moving shall ever stay. Right. So he talks about the fact that these structures can be broken very easily, but the person who will live forever. Basavanna also emphasized on constant spiritual development as the part of profound enlightenment. He championed the use of vernacular language as Kannada in all spiritual discussions, so that translation interpretation by the elite is unnecessary and everybody can understand these spiritual ideas. His philosophy revolves around treating one's own body as soul as a temple instead of making a temple. right? He suggests, that is the temple. His trinity consists of the Guru, the Linga, and the Jagmanga, right? So constant moving and learning. He says that is necessary for life. He questioned ritualism, dualism, and externalization of God, and saying that true God is one with himself and self-one. Basavanna rejected rituals. He encouraged icons, on the other hand, and symbols such as the wearing of the Ishtlinga necklace, right, or the Rudraksh sheaths, right, on parts of the body, right, beads, etc. Applying vibhuti on the forehead as a constant reminder of one's devotion and principles of faith. Right, in Basava Purana, right, there's a discussion between his father and him. Both declare Hindu Shruti and Smriti to be sources of valid knowledge, but they discuss, that the marg is different. He says, right, how to get liberation. Basava's father favors the tradition of rituals, while Basava, favors the path of direct personal devotion. So bhakti, he says, is more important. What is Vachana Sahitya? So Vachana Sahitya basically is a form of rhythmic writing, right? We have actually looked at a few of them. So in the 11th century and the 12th century flourished as the part of the Sharana movement. Mandara Chennaya, 11th century cobbler saint who lived in the western Chulukyas, is regarded as the father of the Vachana poetry. And the word Vachana literally means what is said. And these are obviously readily intelligibly prose texts. Jidara Dasimaya, who lived in the 10th century, is supposed to have been the first proponent of the Lingayatism. Later poets, which is Basavanna, right, he basically encouraged it and became its literary father, right, and obviously used the common tongue a lot more. So let's go for some quotes while we try to end talking about Basavanna. So he says, earth is one and the same for Parya street and Shiva temple. Water is one and the same for washing shit and ritual cleaning. So he says there's no difference, right? Okay, so the earth is the same even in a Shiv temple or at a place where people who are seen to be paryas, right, that is, who don't believe in God, are totally ill will is there in their hearts, etc. All castes are one for a man with self-knowledge. Salvation is one's fruit is the same for all 6 systems. Truth is one. So, O Master Kundala Sangama, for the one who knows you. So he says the who knows God, right? Typically for him all is the same, right? So it talks about the illusion that we live in, that we don't see the oneness in, right, different things. Then there's another quote. So how can I feel right about a God who eats up lacquer and melts? Who wills when he sees the fire? So, when he says that, why is Agni Dev ko, why are we giving ahutis, etc. Right? How can I feel right about that? How can I feel out God who is, you sell in your need, right? That, if you have a problem, go to Bhagwan Shiv, go to Vishnu, etc. Right? And gods you bury for fears of thieves. The Lord Kundala Sangama, self-born with himself. So the God is with you, right? He alone is true, right? So somebody who's one with himself is actually, he alone is the true God. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Do like and subscribe our channel, right? Join our Telegram group. If you have any questions, you can write to our email address, that is imprinknowledgesolutions@gmail.com. Visit our website. Thank you so much.